Everything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Everything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Now, I filed a Rule 60B, motion to vacate judgment. Rule 60B for fraud, deception, and for being erroneously, falsely entered. A motion to vacate judgment. Now, folks, before I get too far today, I want to let you know, I got a communication from the director of the Chapman Museum in Glens Falls, New York. Interesting little email this afternoon, and Mr. Weidner, however you say the name, the director of the Chapman Museum in Glens Falls, well, he asked me, what about all the other victims? And that's an interesting question for the Chapman Museum director to be asking. Now, you know, the Chapman Museum's got a lot of history. They got a whole bunch of proof of facts over there on the history of upstate New York, particularly around Warren County and the so-called North Country in the early settlement of New York, the Empire State. Now, in discussing the up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down water on Lake George, New York, because of the dam and the wintertime lake drawdown, where they let lots of water out of the lake in the winter time so that the power company can make more electricity, so that the power company can make more money, and so that the mills and the other paper making companies and so on and so forth could make more money in the winter time when the water is released exclusively to them. Now, the Chapman Museum asked me, what about all the other victims of all the other dams and all the other streams and rivers that have been dammed up all over the United States? What about all of the other victims of the up and down, up and down, up and down water cycling, where these big corporations use dams, hydroelectric dams, to make lots of money? Well, that's a fascinating question for the director of a museum. Now, the reason that we've gone with the Rule 60B, motion to vacate, and Judgment Rule 60B, excuse me. The reason that that's been filed is the judge of the 4th District Court has referred to my allegations about the up and down, up and down, up and down water and the ice in the wintertime as being delusional and fantastical. That was the reasoning the court gave for dismissing the case. And then, of course, the court claimed that New York State doesn't have any minimum contacts, doesn't have any in-state presence in the 4th Circuit, and you can't get jurisdiction over them because they don't do any business in the 4th Circuit courts of the United States. And the answer is, well, that's nonsense too. New York State does official state business, official business of the state, through 45 interstate compacts. With Virginia and North Carolina, the total number is up around 65 interstate compacts. where the state of New York is doing all kinds of business, official business, in Virginia and North Carolina and many other states like Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and they do international business with with Canada and a lot of other places like Cuba and Puerto Rico, and well, New York State does business in foreign jurisdictions every day, and there's all kinds of other witnesses. There's all kinds of other victims, and there's all kinds of other records that demonstrate that what I'm saying here is correct. Everything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Everybody's heard this a million times. Well, I would suggest that everything the government says can and will be used against them in a court of law. Oh man, think of that for a second. Everything the government says can and will be used against the Bushes and the Clintons and these federal judges and FBI agents and prosecutors and all this other hooliganism that Jimmy Comey and Robert Mueller and Jeff Sessions are engaged in. With everything the Russians say and do will be used against Donald Trump in a court of law. Folks, I'm going to have to leave it right there. I've got some business to attend to, and as always, we will be back.